absolutely burnt out, and how are you going to progress? So to be fair, that's probably another lesson we should learn for this year, is to take a bloody break. But will we?
This
Probably
is the
not.
thing that, and you know what you were just saying there, like I feel the same way, except that I wasn't trying to juggle uni work and teaching myself and running a business, so I cannot even relate to that. But I can relate to that burnout, and it was, a lot of it was pressure I was putting on myself. It was like, I have to post on social media every day, I have to blog every week, I have to do this podcast every week, I have to do this, I have to do that. Nobody else told me I had to do that. I don't know why I put that on myself, but because of that, I found it really hard to get going again after that Christmas break. And I did take a proper break. Like, I was off social media for almost 2 full weeks. I really did. Like, I did not look at work. My laptop stayed shut. But at the same time, now it's hard to get back to it because I let myself get to that burnout. And if I would have just given myself a bit of a break and took things a bit easier, I think I wouldn't have got to that point, and I would have been like ready to just dive back in. I know that this feeling of burnout has been felt pretty much across the board. And my next guest has quite a bit to say about it as well. She, like many of us, did not realize how overworked she was until she was forced to stop and take a break. And then it became very clear. Haley is going to speak with us next. Now, Haley happens to be a fellow photographer and a fellow Canadian, so we have lots in common. And I think a lot of what she says will ring true to you listeners out there as well. Here is Haley, all the way over in Toronto, Canada. Hey, Haley, how are things over in Canada?
Hi, they're a mixed bag, but at the moment things are okay. How about you?
Well, same here. Things are definitely mixed bag is a good way to put it. It's been quite the year, and I think probably similarly over there. It's just been a year of adapting and pivoting and last minute changes and just trying to get through it.
Isn't that the word of the year? Pivoting? Everyone's using it. But
Totally.
yeah, absolutely. It's definitely been a year of finding the silver lining, I think. Yeah.
That's a good way to look at it, because I think we all know what the negatives are. There's no point, discussing again like the effect on the wedding industry or small businesses, or there's no point dwelling on any of that because it is what it is, and it's obviously been really tough. But speaking of silver linings, what have you found? What's been your kind of big takeaway from 2020?
Honestly, I mean, a couple of things. It's afforded me the ability to kind of rest. 2019 was such a busy year for me. I moved my business and my life from Scotland back to Canada, and still had work in Scotland. So I was doing a lot of back and forth, and I hit burnout really, really hard. And honestly, it wasn't until the pandemic hit and lockdown was enforced that I felt this sense of relief. And it was then that I was like, well, that's not good. Something's wrong here, that I kind of have this relief that the world has come to a halt for the time being. Not that I found joy in the pandemic, whatsoever. But so throughout 2020, not being able to really work kind of allowed me to take a step back, look at my business, what's been working, what worked in 2019 or 2018, what wasn't working in those years, what can I improve, and honestly, just like the mental break from having to think too much about it and, have this feeling of having to keep up with the Joneses, all the other amazing photographers out there. It definitely felt that, oh, they're doing this, I need to do this, or, just this sense of keeping up. So yeah, throughout 2020, I just kind of thought, okay, so what can I do to help myself once things do go back to normal? Because, hopefully everything does sooner than later. But, and honestly, that was outsourcing. The burnout that I had from 2019 was just overworking on all the hats that you need to wear to run a business. And when you're just one person, I mean, not all those hats fit me. I'm not a jack of all trades. I'm not great at all aspects of business. So I just thought, right, outsource the things that I'm not good at or that I really don't want to do so that I can get my life back, that I can have a work-life balance. And honestly, it's been a bit of a game changer. I haven't been doing it very long, but from what I have been outsourcing, it's just been very helpful.
I think that's such a good one because it has caught this pandemic and having to rest and not being able to work as much has, I think, made everybody at least take a step back and think about like, what do I want my work-life balance to be like? What do I want my lifestyle to be like? But you kind of have to make a decision. So you get to a point where you're as busy as you can handle everything on your own, as you say, wearing all these hats. So it's either you need to scale it back and start taking on less work, you know, your physical work, you actually going out and photographing people, or you have to keep working that much but farm out some of these other jobs that, you know, the hats that don't fit so well. So I love it. It's a great kind of lesson to learn, and at a good time, because now I think a lot of us it's a good opportunity to plan some new ways of working for the new year.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's the thing, like, yeah, everybody can kind of pause and think ahead. Whereas, you know, especially wedding photographers and videographers, when you're in the busy season, I mean, I know I wasn't planning anything beyond my next wedding. So trying to, you know, have the foresight of like, okay, what am I going to do next? Or, you know, how can I help my business run more efficiently and smoothly and stuff, that just wasn't happening at that time. So with 2020 and 2021 on the horizon, I definitely was like, I don't want a repeat of that. I need help. I need to outsource, you know, well, in the books, outsourcing editing is definitely something that I want to get out there, because I can't do that anymore. It was soul crushing near the end.
No, I totally agree. And editing's one for me too. I've not done that yet, but that is like one of my top things for 2021, because I love being out photographing people. I think you're probably the same. That's why most of us do it. We love that energy, but the editing can get so tedious when you're going through thousands of photos from one wedding. And then as soon as you finish that, you've got another 7 or 8 that need to go. And it is hard not to get burnt out doing that. So I think recognizing where your strengths are and, you know, where your passions are, and trying to find people to help with the rest. Well, it's a bit of a scary step at first, because obviously it's a big added expense. It's a total game changer. I agree. I'm only just delving into it myself too, but I can already see the difference it's making.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then another thing is I didn't realize how stressed I was getting. And it just kind of, I guess it was building, and then I just hit that wall of burnout. But, you know, it wasn't fair to like my partner, because I was just constantly just feeling this like, I need to finish this. I was working, you know, really ridiculous hours, so that I didn't have like a huge backlog of work. But, you know, it was making me miserable. You know, I wasn't then having the time to relax and, you know, decompress and everything. It was just constant work. And I don't think anybody wants that. Right. So yeah, definitely kind of, giving the reins over to other people who can do the job just as well or better. And I think a lot of people don't think to outsource because they don't want to lose that control, but you're still very much in control, because you get the work back, you can give feedback, you know, critique and tweak things. So absolutely.
That's funny. See, when you were saying that, I'm like, oh, you are speaking my mind. Like I've actually done that this year, though. I've made myself busier than I need to be by like taking on. And the thing is, like, I love the podcast. It is a bit of work, but I love it. But there's loads of things I've just decided I had to do for some reason. Nobody told me to. It's not for clients. It's my own stuff. And like, I've been the same, like a lot of nights I'm working till like midnight, 1 a.m. And you're right. Like, it's not fair to partners. And I mean, I usually take a break when Charlie gets home from nursery. I spend a bit of time with her, but when she goes back to bed, I'm like on the laptop, and that's how I feel. I just feel like burnt out and like miserable and stressed and cranky, and oh, it's not good.
Absolutely. Yeah. And nobody wants to feel like that.
Speaking of trying to do a ton of things at once, my next guest, Emily, is an illustrator. Her business is called We Wild Monsters, and Emily is in the unique position of not only parenting a toddler and trying to keep a business going during the lockdown, but also being pregnant and welcoming a second baby into the family during this time. Here is Emily with a little bit of perspective on what that has been like and what she learned from her experience. Hi, Emily. How has your 2020 been?
Hiya. So it's been very busy. I was pregnant for the first part of it and then had a baby for the second part of it. And I have a toddler and I'm trying to run a business. So yeah, it's been very busy.
Well, that's crazy. I think obviously welcoming a new member to your family at any time is a bit of a challenge, but doing it in the middle of a pandemic certainly adds a bit of an extra challenge, I think.
Definitely. I think part of me thinks I was quite lucky that she was born in August when it was all kind of relaxed. But then I felt like the second lockdown was so much tougher because of it.
How are you feeling now that we're nearing the end of it? We've almost survived the full 2020. How are you feeling about things? What's your perspective looking back?
I'm trying not really to look. I'm honestly looking more forward to like next year. Like if I look back, I do look on the more positive side. Like having my husband has been around most of the year, like working from home, but you know, he's been here and it's definitely been very helpful with having the new baby and just being able to go like, oh, can you just take her for 2 minutes while I go to the toilet or go do like make myself a cup of tea?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And even from his perspective, I'm sure it's having that extra time. So my husband's the same. He's been working from home and normally he's gone for 10, 11 hours by the time you factor in his commute. So even just, you know, he's been able to take a little break at lunch and hang out with Charlie like before the nurseries were reopened. And, you know, for your sake with a brand new baby, to give yourself, like you say, even 2 minutes, just run to the toilet, make a cup of tea, I don't know, go hide in a quiet room, like whatever you need, that is really good. And how about from a business perspective? Like if you kind of look back and reflect on what's happened for you business wise, is there kind of any lesson that you learned from 2020 or anything that you feel like you maybe have a better perspective on now that we've made it through?
I don't know if it's like this year specifically. I think it's more having had the baby and you know, my plans were all like, oh yeah, once I've had her, I can go and do this and this and that. And like have, I'm on maternity leave from my like paid job. Like I have loads of time and then actually realizing, no wait, I have a baby to look after. I don't have that much time and I don't have that much energy. So I think that has really made me think or rethink my plans and my goals for the next year or the next coming years. Like there's this quote that you can do anything but not everything at once, and you know, you read it all the time and you go like, yeah, I know, but I think for me this year has really been like, oh yeah, I really can't do everything at once. I need to prioritize, and at the moment having a toddler and a baby is hard enough and dealing with like bloody COVID. Yeah, I'm still obviously like illustrating and everything, but I really have taken the pressure of myself of having to like get more, like have more sales and get more commissions in, and you know, I'm just like, whatever is coming in, I'm happy to deal with that. But if I've had a bad week, like I had last week, I'm just going to leave social media to what it is, and I'm not going to be bothering you know, having to create things for like new products and anything that I don't really want to do. So
I don't think self-care is maybe the right word, the right term, but